live from Tom Landry Middle School in Arlington, Texas. I mean, not really. That's a reference to King of the Hill, if you didn't get it. I like to do those little intros, but I really had trouble thinking of one for this that was funny. I could have went and dug a football out from somewhere, but that would require work. Interestingly enough, this is the first Spire Christian comic that we will be looking at that someone else is credited. So, Billy Zioli, he was the he was behind the Gospel Films Incorporated, and he was sort of a sports chaplain. He was one of the first guys to get chaplains into sports. So that's kind of cool. If you guys aren't familiar with Spire Christian Comics, we've talked about a few of them. Some cool ones. Cross and the Switchblade, of course, is an adaptation of the David Wilkerson book of the same name. And if you haven't seen the movie with Pat Boone, it's pretty good on Cross and the Switchblade. We also talked about Hiding Place, Corey ten Boom, and Paul. Story about the Apostle Paul, which is like a superhero comic. The Apostle Paul in it. So I'm guessing Billy Zioli is credited here, not necessarily because he could have helped with the adaptation of this, but because he was behind this film here about Tom Landry. I'm guessing he had the rights to it or something. I don't really know. Hard to say. It's interesting to see these sports comics. I remember as a kid, I had a comic book about Ozzie Smith, and I think it had Tony the Tiger in it too, or something crazy. You know, the guy from the Tiger, the cereal mascot from Frosted Flakes. Yeah, Frosted Flakes, they're great. Anyways, I should really see if I can find that. Hopefully that still exists somewhere, because I'd really like to look at that. But anyways, I digress. Sports comics. They're still big in Japan. You see a lot of sports manga, mangesu. I don't know. That's probably a Japanese word. If it's something offensive, I'm sorry. But it makes me think, like, why didn't sports comics really take off here in the United States? I think it's worth a shot, you know, someone doing it again. And it's something I've been thinking about lately. Is sports comics, Western comics, a lot of things that maybe should have had a place here in the West and really didn't. And it'd be interesting to see if those genres could make a comeback. Who knows? There was like NFL Super Pro and stuff, but those are like trying to merge football and other sports with superheroes. I'm not too sure that is kosher, that's cool. But yeah, let's take a look at this nice comic book here. Oh, the Broncos are getting beat by the Cowboys. I have no horse in this race, especially not a Bronco. Oh, and we're back. I wonder what happened. Why was there a fade in there? Who knows? Who knows? Anyways, the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, I guess, against the Broncos that year. Good for them, I guess. When I was first reading this, noticed that, you know, of course, Mr. Hartley's trying to get caricatures. He's trying to make these individuals look like people they're actually supposed to look like Roger Staubach and Tom Landry, of course, and whoever this chap is supposed to be. And so it sort of doesn't look like his usual style, at least for a lot of the men that he's drawing here. Not as cartoony. It really looks like that guy's floating into the end zone there. You know what stinks is seeing either a comic book drawn or anything where a person doesn't understand sports, but they're trying to convey sports. Clearly here, there is some semblance of understanding. This is an interesting comic. You know, it's about Tom Landry, and like I said, sports comics are interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they could make a comeback, and this would be definitely something I would look over if I was going to do one, to see how it was conveyed. Like, I wonder, did he take an image from the game, photo, and use this as reference? Because this is a really strong pose here, and I'm guessing this is something he used reference for. Look at that one, though. Sure flying over that. It's about the story of Tom Landry and him becoming a Christian and his life before that. As always, there's strong cartooning, and as always from L. Hartley, beautiful women harking back to his days of romance comics at Marvel. You got a cheerleader jumping up here and just see her legs. Another example of how Hartley puts things in the foreground, midground here, and then even back here, and the crowd and everything. You're getting a lot of depth in this image in order to show, I don't know, make him seem more alive. He rarely, if ever, phones anything in. I certainly haven't seen it. He seemed like he was having a lot of fun with these comics when he drew them. I think he was really happy to be doing these comics and to be making a living doing it. Here we have a good example of a shot that he likes, which is a low-angle shot looking up at the character. In this case, he's in New York. Buildings look a little flat, but I mean, doesn't really matter. Still pretty cool. Who am I to judge? But I'm gonna call it like I see it. This bolt, this lamp being in the foreground is kind of funny. I'm not sure. I mean, you could just moved it over a little bit, I guess, and not chopped off Landry's head, but he did. So Tom Landry becomes a Christian, and then he becomes a coach of the Cowboys, and then they're not very good, and then they get a little bit better. And then here's the best part of the story. In 1966, we lost the NFL championship to the Green Bay Packers in the last minute of play. Yay! The Heroes won. The Heroes won that day. Oh, in 1967, it seemed we had the championship game won against Green Bay, but Bart Starr scored in the last seconds of the game. Wow. And the Heroes won again. That's pretty cool. And the villains lost. See, he could do superhero comics. I'm pretty sure Bart Starr didn't go over like this, but I could be wrong. That's a fun one. Boom. Turn the page. Even these close-up panels, he never phones anything in. There's a lot of work in these. Boom. Turn the page. You also see here when Landry was in the Army Air Corps during World War II, and he apparently landed, well, I don't know if he was he the pilot? Let's see. Unfortunately, my copy got kind of, I don't know what someone spilled on this. Hopefully just water, not like coffee or something. Something good, He was a co-pilot, a bomber, and then they crashed and the wings got torn off. And they all lived, so that's pretty cool. Survived not only these National Socialists, but also crashing the plane. It sort of talks about the chaplaincy and sports quite a bit here at the end, and how he credits that for some of their victory. And because this is closely associated with Tom Landry, one would assume that this is stuff that he actually thought. Here we have another example of Hartley just having some fun, showing other sports and just showing off what he can do in terms of his cartooning. strong football pose here. It looks really athletic, a lot of these. Even the ones that are, I mean, these might be reference from somewhere else, and they probably were, but still it takes a lot of skill to capture that and put it on the page. He was the chairman of the Billy Graham Crusade in Dallas, and yeah, Al Hartley. Let's look at the back. Oh, God's Smuggler. I wonder what that one's about. What else? There's some more kiddie ones. Oh, this one's about the attack on Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to read. Yeah, I'd like to read that one. Barney Bear.